What's up, guys, and welcome to One Take. I'm Gil, and today we're talking about The Expanse, Season 5, Episode 10. That's the season finale titled Nemesis Games. This will be a full recap and review, so it will of course be full of spoilers through the finale, but no book spoilers, so nothing from any future episodes. Overall, I thought this was a satisfying conclusion to the season. It resolved the primary struggles for our characters. Drummer avoids killing her friends on the Rocinante, Naomi reunites with Holden, and Amos is back on the Roci. At the same time, it points to the future and sets up some major conflicts for next season. Avasarala is now leading the charge in trying to unite the world against the Free Navy. At the same time, the protomolecule destroyers seem to be coming out from the shadows, potentially representing a new threat. And we get a glimpse at Cortizar's work. Definitely more to talk about in the recap, so we'll get to that. First, quick reminder, if you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe for more just like them. On to the review. We'll start on the Rocinante. Monica asks for the nav and combat logs to review the tracking data on the Zamia. Many astute viewers noted that during the Roci's battle with the Zamia, a certain missile was fired which got away, meaning it likely contained the protomolecule, saving it from destruction. So here, we see Monica having a similar epiphany. Then, a handful of Martian and Belter warships appear, which heavily outgun the Rocinante. Though Holden doesn't know it, Drummer is aboard one of those ships. I should also mention that Bull uses the term skinny here in reference to the Belters, and Monica chides him for it. That becomes a small subplot this episode, where Holden scolds him for it as well. I like this conflict in theory because it underlines one of the themes of the show, long-standing hatred and prejudice between groups, which the Rocinante stands in stark contrast against. However, this late in the season, it kind of felt odd. Holden, Monica, and Bull have been on this ship for several episodes, and they'd have had numerous reasons to discuss Belters. Marco is the biggest threat in the galaxy at the moment, so for this to be the first time Bull used such language and got called out for it, it felt a little shoehorned into me. That aside, Drummer, Corral, and company prepare to attack the Rocinante. Holden and Bull debate their next move. Bull wants to run, but Holden believes that will be impossible. Marco looks at the Rocinante as a symbol, which needs to be destroyed. Holden convinces Bull they should go out in a blaze of glory, get up close and do as much damage as they can before being destroyed. Holden sends a message to Alex and Bobbie, giving them the update that he's going to buy them as much time as he can. Then Alex and Bobbie continue their journey to the Chetzemoka. The Rocinante approaches the Free Navy ships, then Drummer grabs a gun, points it at Corral, and launches a missile at Oksana's ship, taking their reactor down. However, with Bertold's help, Corral gets the gun back and points it at Drummer before Michio leaps to the rescue, killing Corral. With Michio holding Bertold at gunpoint, Drummer fires more missiles at the other ships. Once they stop targeting the Rocinante, Holden sends a message demanding they shut down the reactors and stand down. Drummer quickly replies, finally revealing to Holden that she is among the Free Navy forces there. After watching Drummer have her hands tied behind her back the last few episodes, this was an incredibly satisfying moment. It's been really frustrating watching this strong character unable to do anything for so many episodes, so I was definitely cheering when she finally grabbed Corral's gun. However, after the attack, things get complicated. After hearing about the failed Rocinante attack, Marco gets upset and asks for Serge, the tribute from Drummer's faction, to meet him on Deck 6. Meanwhile, Philip seems far less upset, essentially saying, okay, that didn't work, but the overall plan stays the same, let's move on. Marco is happy to see Philip has grown, though I suspect that what we're seeing from Philip isn't just maturity, but also a growing cynicism with Marco's intentions. I think Philip recognizes that Marco's attack on the Rocinante was personal in many ways, not necessarily an important strategic step in the Free Navy's victory. I think we see another hint of this toward the end of the episode, which we'll get to in a few minutes. Drummer and her team get a message from Marco, spacing Serge as retribution for Drummer's betrayal. Then Oksana confronts Drummer about the choice she made, betraying her family. Oksana decides to leave, and the team splits. Bertold leaves with Oksana, while Michio and Joseph stay with Drummer. Looking back on Drummer's storyline as a whole this season, I'm a little mixed on it. On one hand, the frustration of watching Drummer backed into a corner by Marco led to a great emotional release when she finally retaliated this episode. On the other hand, I never felt too invested in her new family, Oksana included. The show had an uphill battle to fight because Drummer wants to help Holden and her old friends. This puts her directly at odds with Oksana and the others because Marco has set things up so Drummer can't have both. Since I'm already invested in Drummer, Holden, and company, this immediately ensures I will not be on Oksana's side in this conflict. The only way to change that and make me feel conflicted is by further developing the characters of Oksana, Joseph, and the others. But I don't feel that ever really happened. We definitely saw they were a family, but I know very little about these characters. Meaning when Drummer decided to draw a gun on Corral, to me it felt like purely the right decision, rather than a conflicted one where Drummer is betraying people we care about. And I think this is partially a result of trying to balance a lot of storylines this season, meaning limited screen time for some of them. Meanwhile, on the Chetzemoka, Naomi has come up with another plan to try and get her friends not to come rescue her. After a struggle, she manages to create some acceleration, throwing the Chetzemoka into a spin. Her hope is that this will make it impossible for the Razorback or Screaming Firehawk to dock with the ship, sending a message to her friends to stay away. Alex and Bobbie see the change, but Alex writes it off as a malfunction. Bobbie warns him against docking, but Alex is of course steadfast in trying to make the rescue. And I have to say, this show has done a great job not shying away from how difficult a task it would be for Naomi to get the message out. It would have been so easy to have Holden and the others hear Naomi's modified message, realize what's going on, and plan accordingly. Bobbie even came close to doing so. However, in reality, I think it would be a stretch for someone to confidently make that inference. And I'm glad the story has portrayed this as a nearly insurmountable problem, pushing Naomi to the limit and finally finding a solution. Unfortunately, shortly after that, Naomi hears a message from Alex promising to find a way to dock. She quietly calls him a brave idiot, then she makes her Hail Mary pass and jumps out the airlock. Thankfully, Bobbie notices her floating through the vacuum of space, making Belter hand signals, warning that the Chetzemoka is an explosion hazard. Alex and Bobbie realize they can't get to Naomi without getting close to the ship, which would trigger the trap. Instead, they send Bobbie to go grab Naomi and bring her back on the ship. Naomi's story has consistently been one of the most effective this season, and that continued into the finale, maybe with the exception of what happens to Alex, but we'll get to that. I love the choice of shooting Naomi's rescue entirely from her perspective. We are up close and personal with Naomi as she experiences what she believes are her final moments. Then the rescue happens, and we don't even see Bobbie at first because Naomi doesn't see her. We experience it the same way Naomi does, hearing the muffled voice and the sounds of Bobbie attaching the oxygen. And if you listen with headphones, you'll also notice you only hear Bobbie from one side. And if you close your eyes, you'll feel like you're the one being rescued in the middle of space. This was an incredibly emotional sequence, a great resolution to Naomi's struggles, and portraying it from her perspective like this made it all the more effective. And I again love the use of the recurring theme they've been using for her these last few episodes. As the two head back to the ship, Alex says, "That was one hell of a ride." Bobbie asks if Holden knows about the rescue yet and gets no answer from Alex. Then, inside, we find that Alex has had a stroke, succumbing to the risk you always take with hard burns. I won't say too much about this because it gets into issues bigger than the show. I can't say for certain that this was added via reshoots after production wrapped on season 5, but it certainly felt that way. When a protagonist dies, more important than how they die is other characters' reactions to it and how it changes them. To the show's credit, they managed to fit a few brief mentions of Alex's death into later scenes, so we do get some of that mourning. But overall, for me anyway, it was hard not to be taken out of the show by this and just see it as, oh, so that's how they decided to write him out. I think I would have preferred they leave the ending as it was, write him out between seasons, and have other characters address it in season 6. Unless this was the original ending, but that would certainly surprise me. Anyway, from a storytelling standpoint, it's a tough situation to handle, and no matter what, it was going to be hard to address. So I don't hold it against the show. Back on the Rocinante, Monica watches the news where we see Avasarala has changed Earth's approach to the war. Earth and Luna are under martial law, and she tells the Belt they are at war with Marco, not all Belters. Then Monica asks Bobbie for help in deciphering her Zamia data, while Holden asks Bull to launch a missile, destroying the Chetzemoka. Finally, Holden and Naomi get a quiet moment together. Naomi asks about Holden's parents, and thankfully they survived. They're on their way to Luna, just like the Rocinante. Naomi is worried that once they get there, Avasarala could have her arrested, but Holden assures her she'll be fine. Then Naomi learns that Holden never listened to her "if something goes wrong" message. He felt that if he did, it would mean Naomi was gone. So she plays it for him. In the message, she thanks him for their time together and talks about how she appreciated their family on the Rocinante. She asks Holden to move on and build on what they had, so in that way, Naomi will always be there. This definitely didn't reach the emotional highs of Naomi's rescue, but it was great seeing the two finally reunited. I'm also curious how much Naomi will tell Holden about her son, and how much that will play into the conflict next season. As much as Naomi didn't leave on great terms with Philip, he's still her son, and I imagine she won't be thrilled about going to war with him. So I'm very curious to see how that develops. On Luna, we see Erich and Amos have safely arrived. Erich invites Amos to join him on a journey to explore new planets and opportunities where there aren't any cops or security yet. Of course, Amos turns him down in favor of joining back up with the Rocinante, then pulls out a bottle so they can share in a drink, but he drops it, and his trying to get someone to catch it made me laugh and was a nice final moment between friends. I also loved Amos's wordless goodbye as he gives Erich a look before taking off. It felt like a very Amos way of saying sayonara. Next, Amos finds Holden and Naomi. Naomi apologizes about Alex, but Amos assures her it's not her fault. Then Amos takes Holden aside to ask for a favor. Amos brings up the time Holden drew a gun on him and confirms that things have changed. Now they have each other's backs. And I laughed hard when Amos says, "Thank you for being cool about this," before revealing the fugitive that will be staying with them for a while. This is one of many things which gets me excited for next season. We have most of the team reunited, but I think it will be a very different dynamic. Naomi has been through hell, Amos is clearly a different person, and now Clarissa is on board. So it'll be interesting to see how they interact and the internal hurdles that creates in the upcoming battles. Avasarala hosts an end-of-season soiree where I have to say it felt great seeing everyone safe and reunited again, as brief as it was. Holden and Naomi tell Amos that the Roci will remain an independent ship, but the fight with Marco is one they can't stay out of. Avasarala swings over to tell them that this is what Marco Inaros hates, referring to the union they represent between Earth, Mars, and the Belt. Now all they need to do is convince the rest of the Earthers, Martians, and Belters to similarly unite. This is how we win, she says. Cut to Marco patting himself on the back for something that's about to happen, telling Philip how, when he was his age, it was unthinkable for this to happen, but now it will be something that happened, adding, "I made this happen." Throughout the season, it's become clearer and clearer how important Marco's ego is to himself. At every turn when the Free Navy achieves victory, Marco loves to thank himself for it. I continue to believe Marco doesn't care too much about the Belter cause. Really, I think he just sees it as an opportunity to be an important force and indulge his ego, though I'm sure that will be put to the test in the ensuing battle. So far, it seems like what's good for the Free Navy in terms of growing their power is also good for Marco's ego. Will there be a point where that's not true anymore? Will he have a choice to make where option A is good for him, but option B is good for the Belt? And if so, what choice will he make? I think his ego comes out on top, but we'll see. Back at the reception, Monica informs Holden about the Zamia torpedo that got away, theorizing the protomolecule was on it. Then Avasarala grabs Holden and informs him that Marco attacked some of their ships at the ring gate. They also notice some gunfire coming from inside the ring, meaning Medina Station is coordinating with Marco. Then Martian ships arrive, and everyone is happy until they realize they are actually Inaros ships. On Marco's ship, everyone cheers his name, while melancholy music plays and Philip has a look on his face. while Marco just soaks it all in. I mentioned earlier that I think Philip is becoming disillusioned with his father. That's what I see on his face here. He's realizing that for Marco, this is what it's all about. Marco wants to hear everyone cheer his name, and I'll be interested to see that develop further next season. Perhaps Philip will see Marco for who he is and become totally disillusioned with the cause to eventually help Naomi stop Marco. Meanwhile, Avasarala wonders how a fleet of Martians could have joined up with Inaros, and Holden clarifies that Marco bought the ships, likely with protomolecule. Avasarala wonders why they would take the protomolecule after what it did to them on Illis, and Holden suggests maybe they know something we don't. Cut to Sauveterre and Marco essentially shaking hands after their successful coordination. It took me a second to remember Sauveterre because we haven't seen him since early in the season when Bobbie and Alex were investigating him. As a top-level Martian, he was a key suspect of their weapons trade investigation. Sauveterre gets a message from Cortizar confirming the safe arrival of the protomolecule. Cortizar is having the time of his life experimenting with it and cryptically tells Sauveterre, "By the time you arrive, I hope to be ready for third phase construction." He mentions the interconnected structures within the planet, just like Illis, and seems to be getting a handle on how to control it. Afterwards, Sauveterre turns to Babbage and tells her how in this new world they'll need to be even more disciplined. Then he admonishes her for her non-dress code bracelet. However, as they head through the ring, something strange happens. They freeze and the fiery beings that Holden warned us about make an appearance. The beings seemingly eradicate Sauveterre and Babbage. Like I mentioned a few times already, this episode has a lot of interesting setup for next season. So there's a few things to talk about here. First, Sauveterre's dress code diatribe. I think this was meant to scare us a little bit in regard to what Sauveterre is attempting to build. Although he is presumably killed, I assume others are still around to build on his cause. A faction of Martians attempting to use the protomolecule to carve out a new, even more ruthless, military-led civilization. And what are they doing with the protomolecule? To me, it seems that, generally speaking, Cortizar is starting to get a handle on how to control it, presumably as a weapon. Perhaps it'll be a more targeted weapon than just dropping protomolecule on a station and letting it spread like a disease. Finally, it looks like the protomolecule destroyers are waking up just like Holden warned they would. I'm super curious to understand this better next season. What woke them up? Do they pick a side in this battle? Did they consciously decide that Sauveterre was overstepping his bounds and took him out? Or was it just a matter of time before they woke up anyway? I personally can't wait to find out, and as a result, I may finally catch up on the books, which I've only read some of so far. Anyway, I think we can wrap it up there. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments. Did you think it was a satisfying conclusion to this season? Are you excited for next season? Let me know in the comments and we'll keep the conversation going. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell icon to get notified the next time we do a video. With that, thanks for watching and see you on the next One Take.